this morning, and
yes,
I see where you're involving yourself in lots of issues these days.
yeah, I'm kind of concerned about some stuff there at the district attorney's office, and not trying to go behind Tommy's back or anything like that, but I think we've got some issues that need to be addressed, and I appreciate y'all giving me the time to do this. And it's good to see y'all again. Kind of feels like old times up here. It's been so busy, I've kind of been out of the loop for a while. But let me start by saying I appreciate Lisa adding me to the agenda today. She's always helpful and pleasant to deal with. I really appreciate that. And I would ask the commission to give her a raise.
I already did.
I appreciate that. Give her another. And the reason I say that, I think we as people in Tuscaloosa County, and I especially, do not mind supporting county employees who is helpful and beneficial to the community, and I feel like she is. But I'm sad to say that I cannot say that about the district attorney's office. And at this time, I'm requesting no additional funding for the DA's office due to the following 3 reasons. And I'll explain these reasons in detail, and I'll try to make this as brief as possible. And I also have a copy of this, what I'm saying here, if y'all would like that. Number 1, lack of transparency, openness, and willingness to accommodate the public when asked. Number 2, Circuit Court Ms. Bobo is derelict in her duties by not signing summons for the Juvenile Court Department. Number 3, there are problems with the Deputy District Attorney, Jill Beck. Start with number 1 here, lack of transparency, openness, and willingness to accommodate the public when asked. Ms. Bobo will send an official request per the Alabama Open Records Act for a copy of her bond and several other court personnel bonds as well. This request was ignored. Ms. Bobo was also sent a letter requesting clarification and explanation of a bill sent out by her office. And then from what I understand, this was involving court charges. The charges on this invoice was coded and were not explained on the invoice. This letter was also ignored. Deputy District Attorney Jill Beck was sent 3 official requests per the Alabama Open Records Act for her bond and oath of office, and these requests were ignored. Circuit Court Ms. Bobo is derelict in her duties by not signing summons for the Juvenile Department per the Alabama Rules of Court. If you reference Alabama Rules of Juvenile Procedure 13A, then that references back to the summons process under Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure 4A2. And that rule pretty much states that the circuit clerk shall sign. It doesn't say she may sign those summons. Right now, from what I understand, all the summons that are going through the Juvenile Court Department are not being signed by the circuit clerk. I don't see how you have any jurisdiction over anybody down there when those summons are not being signed. And number 3, there are problems with the Deputy District Attorney to me, and this is more important than the first 2 items that I had just discussed, because the well-being of children are involved here. I want to read an email that was forwarded to a child's attorney stating that this child was to be removed from his home even though there was no reason and she had no justification for even suggesting such a thing. And by the way, Jill mentioned that the child had violated probation in this email, but that was not the case, and this was thrown out by the judge. And the letter starts, and this is real short. It says, Ricky, please consider filing the probation violation we discussed. YSICOC was the only real terms of his probation. We could not have been more clear about expectations, and I am furious that he is not complying. I will be asking for out-of-home placement, preferably Three Springs, Cortland, ACS, and Hillcrest, Phoenix are also possibilities. I worry for this child. Now listen to this. This is what really gets me. He is homeschooled and learns what is appropriate from his mentally ill mother and delusional father. In addition, I feel the father will sabotage any outpatient therapy we try. Thanks, Jill. Now, because of this email, this child suffered mental abuse by her actions. He was diagnosed by a clinical psychologist with post-traumatic stress syndrome and had suicidal thoughts because of this email. His exact words were, I would rather kill myself than to be pulled out of my home. This child had received psychological therapy because of her actions. One of the goals of the Alabama Juvenile Justice Act is to preserve and strengthen the family of the child whenever possible. That's found in the Code of Alabama 1215-101B1. And this is apparently not the goal of Jill Beck. Now I have several questions that I think need to be answered about the Deputy District Attorney and her office. Number 1, why is the Deputy District Attorney using bullying tactics? You know, we have rules and guidelines in our schools dealing with bullying, okay? Is this normal operating procedure for her or her department? Her profession is law, but why is she stepping outside of her profession by making these types of comments about the child's parents? Is she prejudiced and discriminatory against Christian parents and our homeschooled children? Is there a pattern here, and does this warrant an investigation into her office? I've also talked with a friend who's a psychologist, and she stated that she has treated several young kids who have had dealings with the juvenile court system. And these children have had psychological problems because of the juvenile court system here in town. I've talked with several attorneys, and they said they do not even go down to juvenile court unless it's absolutely necessary. One even said that the juvenile court is a world all of its own and operates on its own. Now, I know this sounds harsh and is unexpected, but I feel like these things need to be brought out in the open. They are never going to be dealt with unless they're brought out in the open. Remember, our county's children's health and well-being are at stake here. In closing, I ask that Ms. Bobo furnish records under the Alabama Open Records Act. She needs to be more accommodating, and she needs to follow the Alabama rules of court. I ask that Jill Beck furnish records under the Alabama Open Records Act, and I also ask for a full investigation to be completed into Jill Beck's office. When these matters are resolved, then approve the additional funding requested by the district attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. The only comment that I would make regarding what you presented to us is I don't know that this is the appropriate forum to air these things or to talk about these concerns. But then the question, it begs the question is, what is the proper forum, or where is the proper forum? And where is where would someone be given the opportunity to make known concerns that they may have relative to, because you mentioned juvenile court, you mentioned circuit clerk's office, you mentioned a lot of factors or a lot of individuals, and certainly this, we're here, we're a policy making board, and hopefully we try to avoid the personality issues that may arise in public. But I don't know and what the proper way to gain access or gain the attention of those that have the responsibility. I don't know that.
Well, it seems to be a problem because if you talk to parents that have been involved in some stuff down there, your kid is in the middle of the situation, and you're limited to what you can do at that time because you don't want the kid to receive more punishment or whatever else that's involved. So you're stuck there at that situation till you get out of that situation.
Well, one of the concerns the county commission and me personally have had, and we've done it in most areas with the exception of the district attorney's office, is no longer funding state agencies. We don't have a responsibility to fund state government.
Well, that's why I'm asking you not to supply any more money to it.
So there's been great reluctance, certainly on my part personally, to do any additional funding for agencies outside of county government and for state agencies. And
I don't know.
All of the ones that you mentioned, every department and person that you mentioned, from juvenile court to circuit clerk to the DA, are all state agencies.
Yes, sir.
That we would have absolutely no.
Right, but they're coming to you wanting more money, and that needs to be cut out. And I don't think we need to fund them anymore. And I don't know what the answer is, Judge.
I don't either. I really and truly don't. And I would be seeking maybe some guidance from some others that maybe be a little more knowledgeable than I as to where would be proper way for a citizen or someone that wants to make their concerns known, as you say, more transparent.
Yes, sir. And you know, I appreciate y'all being transparent here, and I will compliment y'all. Whenever I ask for paperwork, any kind of records, anything, y'all have always been over backwards to be accommodating, even phone calls from Mr. Vines, and I appreciate that, and I think that's the way government should work. But when you go to an agency and you get stonewalled, and just, you know, when you receive a bill in the mail, if you've got a question about a bill, you have a right to question that bill. What are you charging me for? Well, you know, they just send you a bill, or, you know, send someone a bill and don't even explain it. And then when you send a letter back to them asking for an explanation, they just ignore it. I don't understand that.
I don't have you an answer.
I know it. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dan. All right, Ms. Thompson.